There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Shawn the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. I am here with a very special guest, my cousin, Lindsey the Book Maniac. Welcome to my channel, Lindsey.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Cuz the Book Maniac. Our pet name for each other. We call each other Cuz. We both live in Tokyo. We're both Canadians, and we're doing social distance tonight. So here we are on Zoom. And we are here to discuss the Norwegian novel, Long Live the Posthorn by Vigdis Hjorth, translated from the Norwegian by Charlotte Barsland. Lindsey and I'm going to let her do a whole bunch of the talking. The intelligent part of this discussion will be Lindsey's, so stay tuned, but I'm almost finished with my little intro here. We have separately read it. We have not discussed anything about our reactions to it or done any processing, any typical buddy reading. We have been keeping each other in suspense until this video. We have also earlier today made short prediction videos of guessing what the other one might have thought of the book. So here are those videos.
Hello, Shawn, darling Shawn, and whoever else may be watching. So, Shawn and I read the book Long Live the Posthorn. It was Shawn's suggestion, and being the booktube master that he is, he said that it'd be fun if we recorded videos of what we thought the other's reaction would be first. And let me tell you, I thought that was genius, but then afterwards thought, I cannot read what Shawn is going to like ever. We tend to have quite vastly different taste, I would say. When we do agree, we agree on quite a profound level, so we'll see what Shawn thinks of this. But how did Shawn feel about this book? I'm going to have to say that I'm sure he liked quite a bit of the language in it. I'm sure there are sections where he thought they were rather quotable and enjoyed what was being said. I was a little bit worried at the beginning how he would react, but when I checked in with him and he hadn't bailed yet, I thought it was a good sign. In Shawnland, I would guess he'd give this 4 stars, maybe? I think that the story in itself probably did appeal to him, and he liked the stories and the background in it. I might be completely off, we'll find out soon enough, but I think Shawn was on board with Long Live the Posthorn. 4 stars from Shawn.
Hello, BookTube. Well, this is the preamble. This is the preface to a collaboration I'm doing on Zoom with my cousin Lindsey. We have both read Long Live the Posthorn, a Norwegian novel by Vigdis Hjorth, and this is my prediction of what my dear cousin Lindsey will think about the book. It's actually difficult because Lindsey is not a big reader of literary fiction, and this is definitely literary fiction, and I'm not aware that she reads much literature in translation, but I may not be aware. She reads more YA fantasy, I think, and reads a wide variety of stuff, but not a lot of literary fiction. I think Lindsey's reaction is going to be the opposite of mine, so spoiler alert, I loved the first half and didn't like the second half, and I think it might be somewhat opposite for her. I felt the ending was a little bit hokey, a little bit sentimental, a little bit self-helpy, and I think that might work for Lindsey more than it did for me. And I'm really kind of grasping at straws because I remember that Lindsey loves the nonfiction kind of spiritual books. Lindsey's not religious in any churchy way, but she loves, what's that guy's name? Mitch Albom? He is the author of most famously Tuesdays with Morrie, and he writes a lot of inspirational memoirs and that kind of veer into self-help with a smattering of spirituality. I read Tuesdays with Morrie years ago and I liked it, but it's not my cup of tea and I had no interest in reading anything more. A little bit too earnest and self-helpy and with a little bit too much spirituality. But I am not an expert on him, but I know she likes him. That's all I'm hanging my prediction on, is that she might like the way this novel ended better than I did. So let's see if I'm right or wrong. Okay, now you have seen those videos, but I still haven't seen Lindsey's video. Lindsey hasn't seen mine. So we are going to do the very sophisticated, mature reveal here, which is simultaneously we're going to do this or this or this. So liked it, so-so, didn't like it. And then we'll get into a discussion of what the book's about and our reactions. We are going to keep the first part of this discussion spoiler-free, and at a certain point, we're going to get into spoiler territory, and we'll let you know very clearly. So if you don't want spoilers, you can stop watching at that point. Are you ready, cuz?
I'm so ready. Let's do this, guys.
So here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
We both thought it was so-so. That's interesting. Now, did you think that that would be my assessment?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Well, based on, I mean, the way that we rank books is different. I'm a little bit more critical than you are usually, but I said that you would probably give it 4 stars based on your usual ranking system.
No, I'm going to give it 3 stars.
Ooh.
So that's more negative than your 3 stars, right?
Yes, it is.
So I predicted that you would like it better than me. I didn't predict a rating, but probably I would have predicted a 3-star for you because your 3-star is more positive than mine. In a nutshell, I loved the first half or so, and then I didn't like the ending. And my prediction about you was that it would be kind of the opposite, that you would have liked the ending more than the beginning. Was that right?
That's entirely accurate. Good call.
Well, and the only thing, I mean, you don't read as much literary fiction as I do, and we don't discuss books. I mean, we do, but not as much as we should. So I was kind of making a wild guess. I remembered how much you like the writer Mitch Albom.
Yeah.
And he's a bit too inspirational for my tastes. And so that's what all I had to go on. I thought, I think that Lindsey might like the ending of this book more than I did.
Oh, I was so much more vague than you. I thought it was a good sign that you hadn't bailed on it. When I checked in with you and you were at 38%, I'm like, he's probably going to finish. So that probably means at least 4 stars.
Uh-huh.
I think there's some parts, the language is really going to appeal to him, like some of the descriptions, I think. And I think some of the background stories and like the ways that the directions that it went in, I think would be appealing to you. But
Oh, let's get into it. And like I say, we're not going to go into spoilers. We're going to talk about how the novel opens and our general impressions. And later in the video, we will get into some spoilers and give you lots of warning when that happens. I don't want to put you on the spot, cousin, but would you mind setting up what is this book about? How does it start?
So we have our main character, Eleanor. Shawn and I were discussing this briefly earlier, trying to figure out when her name actually comes up for the first time. I don't think we actually reached a conclusion, but it's really told from her perspective. It's stream of thought, or it's got that stream of consciousness approach to it. So it's not like, here's the end of this chapter, here's the start of the next chapter. Yeah, she's working for a PR firm, and one of her colleagues has just quit and left behind a less than flattering letter for her.
That's true.
And just in general, she kind of seems to be living in a life that is gray, I suppose. She just feels quite apathetic, neutral about all parts of her existence.
Skeptical, unfocused, kind of disconnected from the people in her life, not really in touch with her emotions about any of the people in her life. Yes, and this PR firm, their main client is, I mean, this is such a nerdy thing, and the novel is so focused on this nerdy thing, but to me, that part of this novel really worked. Their client is the Norwegian Postal Workers Union. Postcom is maybe the name, but that's what it is. And they want the PR firm to mount a campaign to oppose an EU postal directive. I mean, this just sounds like, are you still awake, right? And to Vigdis Hjorth's credit, it's not that boring, but it's kind of difficult to explain with trying to keeping our viewers awake. This EU postal directive is to privatize postage for letters under a certain weight, 50 grams or something, so that there would be competition, and the postal union is very much opposed to it. And I mean, it just sounds like this drudgery of a contract, and not only Eleanor but her remaining co-worker at the PR firm Rolf, they're just kind of going through the motions. They don't expect their PR campaign to be successful. They don't think the Postal Workers Union is going to be successful to overturn or stop this EU directive from going through. But that's kind of the premise of, that's kind of what's going on in the novel. It does not sound promising. How did you get along with that premise?
I suppose, as you said, I don't read a lot of literary fiction, particularly in the past couple of years. I've tended more towards nonfiction that is pretty heavily science-based. So I kind of just was like, oh, okay, politics, all right then. I'm not sure how I feel, but I'm gonna see where it goes. I'll humor this.
Did you find it dry, that part?
I will say that I very much skimmed the start of the novel, and as I got further and further in, I read it more slowly and in depth.
Okay. So you got more into it when there was a kind of a tonal shift, or the plot really shifted into something that was more personal.
And I'll tell you the point when it kind of.
Yeah.
And
I wonder, I'm so curious to see if it's the same point at which I started to detach. I was really attracted to her psychologically ditzy state, and I enjoyed how scattered her thoughts were. And one of the things that first started to interest me, I won't say fascinated me, I didn't get fascinated for a few more pages, but when she started rereading her old journal entries, her old diary entries from 10 years before or something.
Yeah.
And they were so inane, they were so banal, and she was judging herself. But then the narrative shows that she hasn't changed or evolved at all, and her thoughts and her reactions to people and emotional situations and work situations and everything in her life is still incredibly banal. And she just seems like she's just locked into that kind of almost dissociative state. And I found it kind of humorous and certainly enjoyable, but I didn't have a clue what to expect about where the story was going. But I could relate to the alienation, maybe that's not the right word, but I'll go with that. The alienation of working a job where you don't give a rat's ass about what you're doing and you're just going through the motions. I don't have that kind of situation now, but I have in my past. And she was a sympathetic character almost from the get-go.
I definitely agree with you there. I think part of perhaps why I wasn't as connected with her as I might have been at the beginning was that I felt myself relating to her a little bit too much, particularly this year. So I was like, I don't want to be in this space right now. So I'm just going to skim this so I don't have to think about it too much.
No, because she is very isolated. She's not alone a lot of the time. She lives alone, but she's in contact with people, but she's kind of in a contactless kind of bubble. She's with people.
Directionless and just drifting through. Every day is the same.
The main characters are her and her co-worker Rolf, and Dag is the one who has quit and disappeared. There's also a sister, Marguerite, and her mom. And she's not really close with them, and she's got a boyfriend, and it's the most lackluster relationship. Oh my God. Like, she just is so obtuse, and he doesn't seem much better in the emotional intelligence department.
I kind of loved how dry it was. It was just like, went to his house. He made a 3-course meal. And I was like, wait. You found a man that's going to make you a 3-course meal? Hold the phone. Let's stop right there. But, she's like, he made me a 3-course meal. It was excellent. We had sex. He slept over, got up and went to work. I'm just like...
I think that I can talk about this in a non-spoilery way, and I don't need to go into any more detail in the spoiler part at the end of the video, but one of my favorite scenes in the novel is the sex scene with the sex toy. Oh, that was just brilliant. I love that so much.
Oh, there was such a beautiful level of awkward there. But it also really, I think, perfectly captured where she was in her life in that, like, everything was, it's all right.
Yeah. It's just all right. It was just all right. Basically, we have almost the opposite opinion. So I thought that it started out brilliantly and it got a little bit too not sentimental, but too self-helpy, too inspirational for my taste
Mhm.
as a reader. And Lindsey, would you say that you had the opposite opinion, or how? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
It's not really the opposite opinion. I think it would be more that at some points, I just, towards the end, I felt myself really, really connecting with her and feeling like, yes, that's the answer. And then it kind of drifts away. And then I would be like, okay, but forget about her because now I get where this is going. I can't believe they managed to make this interesting. So drifting in, I really was into the postal workers, to be honest. I loved them.
You got invested later, and I was invested early and kind of
Mm-hmm.
lost it at the end. So in the spoiler part of the video coming soon, we'll kind of get right into the points, because it'll be fascinating to see if those were similar points where I lost the thread and you picked up the thread.
I suppose also one other
Mm-hmm.
character, not super major, but her boyfriend has a son.
That's right.
So I think that the evolution she has with him is also kind of shows her complete disconnect from everything at the
Oh
beginning.
yeah, she's just clueless about how to. I mean, at the beginning, she has absolutely no desire to connect with the son.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't even met the son, I don't think, at the beginning of the
Yeah,
novel.
no,
And
I
she's
don't think
just, and that evolution was interesting to
so.
follow. Yes. Well, I think this is where we're going to get into spoiler territory. So if you don't like spoilers, this is the time for you to tune out and come back and watch the rest of the video after you've read it. I recommend people try it. I didn't hate it. I loved the first half, and I was disappointed it didn't go in the direction, or the tone changed in a way that I didn't like, but I liked it well enough. I think people should try it. So here we are. We're now officially in spoiler territory. So at what point did you get into the groove of the novel?
When Rolf lost control of the media training.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. And I was still very much connected throughout that scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rolf, they're doing this training session for these postal worker union reps or whatever they are. And Rolf just loses it.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's in an emotionally kind of unstable place, because now we can say that the co-worker Dag, who left, he disappeared and died, presumably suicide. So that is kind of hanging over the story at this point. But he is just clinging to business language. I really got all of that from my own work experience, all that corporate speak bullshit. Oh my God. And
All
he's
the
trying
we
to.
have to say it to make it work in the media, all the.
Yes, and he loses control of this training session. And I thought that was a beautiful scene. I loved it. So I was still very connected at that point.
He loses control in the best way.
And then Eleanor has to take over.
Mm-hmm.
And she admits to these people, after
Mm-hmm.
having listened to one very powerful story. Am I remembering that correctly? That's when we get the story about the dead letter postal worker.
Yeah.
And she listens to that, and then she says, I'm paraphrasing, but she says, we don't have anything to teach you guys. Yeah. And I thought that was really powerful. If the novel had ended there with just a little bit more of a subtle denouement or concluding scene, I would have loved the novel. It would have been 5 stars. The version of the story that he tells in that training session just introduced this powerful metaphor for all of the other stuff going on in the novel about
Mm-hmm.
dead letters and communication and all this stuff. And that was powerful. But then when she goes to visit him at his home or whatever, and he tells her the longer version, it's not that I don't want to spoil it, but I don't think we need to go into details, but it's very lengthy, and it, to me, was too much like a fairy tale, and I'm just not big on fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
And it became like the kind of story you would get in a corporate seminar about finding meaning in your life. Like, to me, like, it was kind of working at cross purposes, and I lost my connection to the story at that point. It was a little bit too heavy-handed with the inspirational stuff.
I don't know. I feel like I looked at it more of. It seemed like the way that she talked about it and everything. I know it was an actual story that had happened within the novel, but it seemed to me more like a dream sequence
It did.
because it was so fanciful. It had to do with children in this village in this story, and all of the children reacting the exact same way, the exact same time. I'm like, police, police. That's not happening. But what it comes back to, I could see how that would hit people if you gave it to them at the right time. But I think I stayed connected because I kind of just glossed over that. I was like, yeah, not that important.
And that's great. I mean, that's why it's good for us to be having this discussion, because we had quite different experiences, and that will encourage people to try it for themselves.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely agree that it was too fanciful for me, that story.
That didn't pull you out of the story, whereas it did me. So it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I keep thinking about is, you know what? If this was a really well done movie, I don't think any of that would have bothered me. So I have a different reaction in different media. I can get really sucked in emotionally to kind of a cheesy TV show or movie. But if I think that a work of literary fiction is too cheesy for me, I just, so I have very different standards. As shitty of a TV show as it is, Glee, God, I don't know how many times I've cried watching episodes of Glee. And it's just terrible.
Well, I'm a major sap, so like a blood donation commercial can have me crying in like 3 seconds. It's really
sure.
bad,
McDonald's commercials. A lot of the
yeah.
don't even really like Christmas, but there's some beautiful Christmas commercials.
Yeah.
But put it into fiction, and I become a snob. Would you try another novel by Vigdis Hjorth?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I need to be in the right mind space for it, but I think I would.
I would too, because apparently this is the only one that gets a little bit cheesy at the end, so you might not like them as well, but the other one of hers that is her most famous novel, at least in its English translation, is Will and Testament, translated by the same translator, Charlotte Barson. And it doesn't go into the light, it stays in the dark or in the gray, and I think I might like it better. And you might not, but it caused a bit of a, not scandal, but a controversy when it was published. Her sister wrote a rebuttal novel.
Oh, interesting.
And there was all kinds of family fallout. So that makes me curious. So I might hitch up for a buddy read of that somewhere down the road.
Oh yeah, let me know.
Great. Well, I think that's all for now, folks, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.